Hey, what's going on, wrestling fans? Welcome to Toddy D's Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Brooklyn's own Toddy D, and tonight we're going to discuss last week's Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, Impact Wrestling, and several other topics that we're going to get into right away. We are just a couple hours away from Monday Night Raw, and just to do a quick recap from last week's Monday Night Raw, Brock Lesnar came out with Paul Heyman. Surprise, surprise, the Beast Incarnate did not have much to say, but of course, your advocate for the reigning, defending WWE Heavyweight Champion of the World, Brock Lesnar. Of course, Paul Heyman took care of all the wording and all the details for the Beast Incarnate. So it's no surprise now, we all know that Brock Lesnar will be entering the Royal Rumble at number 1. That should be interesting and set up a lot of good scenarios for NXT wrestlers, hopefully SmackDown, as well as Monday Night Raw wrestlers. Me, personally, I'm hoping to see a little confrontation maybe between Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar maybe with Keith Lee. You know, there could be other scenarios. I'm hoping that they're all good. Basically, you know, Brock Lesnar has been bragging, stating, well, actually, Paul Heyman said for him that there are no wrestlers that are of equal value to Brock Lesnar, that everybody is basically a joke. The way Brooklyn's own Toddy D sees it is this. Brock Lesnar is going to last the majority of the Rumble, but he will get dumped out. Whoever dumps him out is going to set up for the match for WrestleMania, obviously. I'm just hoping personally that it's not Tyson Fury or Cain Velasquez. No disrespect to either one of them. They're great fighters in their respective sports. But the bottom line is this. They're not professional wrestlers, and I feel personally that they should not take away from other wrestlers who are working 250 plus days a year preparing for the biggest, stage being WrestleMania. And not for nothing, these guys come in, they're hardly trained, and even if they are trained, they make all the wrestlers look stupid, they make them look bad, and they always get the win. And I think that's a bunch of bull. I think that, that spot should be reserved for people who are deserving, people who are there all year long. Guys like Drew McIntyre, guys like Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and so forth. All these guys bust their tails week in and week out for everybody just to please the fans. They do their job, they bust their humps, and then you have these part-timers come in wrestling another part-timer being Brock Lesnar, but at least Lesnar's a wrestler, and he's part of the WWE roster. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to the Rumble. I'm hoping to see a lot of cool scenarios, and I highly doubt that Brock Lesnar will enter one and go through the entire 30-man roster. I highly doubt it. I'm sure he'll get eliminated somewhere toward the middle, maybe toward the middle/end. But, there's a lot of great scenarios. Now I was hoping that John Morrison would be part of the Rumble. He might still be. But shifting over to Friday Night SmackDown last week, John Morrison came out on the Miz's show. They had the nice little reunion. And then basically, the whole beef with The Miz and Kofi Kingston continued. And, Morrison being a contributing factor on the outside, and Big E was on the outside as well. That set up a distraction, so The Miz was able to get the victory over Kofi Kingston. And that's now setting up for a match this coming Friday for a singles match between John Morrison now and Big E. I'm thinking that at Royal Rumble, they're going to probably have a tag team title match, with Big E and Kofi going against Miz and Morrison. Hopefully, even if they have that match, they'll still be part of the Royal Rumble. Because personally, I wanted to see John Morrison go into the Rumble. But everybody's speculating that CM Punk might be number 30. You know what? I'm not the biggest Punk fan, but I'm a fan of wrestling, and I'm a fan of wrestlers being in the Rumble and not these part-timers who are non-wrestlers. So I'd much rather see CM Punk come any day of the week than Cain Velasquez or Tyson Fury. So with that being said, if it's Punk, I'd rather have him, hands down. So, this week, coming up on Raw, we have a fist fight. They're going to make a 6-man tag. Big Show is back. He's looking great, lost a lot of weight. He's going to, be tagging in the 6-man tag team. You have Seth Rollins with the Authors of Pain against Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, and the returning Big Show. Now, it's only been a week that Big Show's been back to WWE. Do you guys think it's too early for a heel turn? I mean, the Big Show has turned heel and face more times than I've changed my drawers over the last few years. But with that being said, hopefully he'll be face for a while. Hopefully this will set up for something bigger at the Rumble. And getting back to the Rumble, I know I'm rambling back and forth, but there's so much stuff to cover, and I got a lot on my mind, a lot to discuss. We're talking about the Royal Rumble, talking about tag teams. The Revival, if you guys remember, last month, during, I think it was TLC, they came out and they started some stuff with Booker T, and they were pushing him around the broadcast booth when he was doing the pre-show, and they started saying how he's nothing and they would have beat him in his prime. And then all the speculation and rumors came out that Stevie Ray might come out of retirement, at least from one match, and Harlem Heat might get back together again, setting up a nice little feud with Harlem Heat and the Revival. I, for one, I'm a big fan of nostalgia. As you can see, oh yeah, I got my shirt on, yeah, the Macho Man, oh yeah. Anyway, with that being said, I'm a fan of nostalgia. I love to see Harlem Heat hook up again, take it to the Revival, maybe beat them the first time around, maybe the Revival come back to beat Harlem Heat, and then they'll have the one-off maybe at WrestleMania. One never knows. But I think at the end of the day, if they do a 2 out of 3 falls, I think at the end they should give the rope to the Revival. But either way, if they do a 2 out of 3 falls match, hopefully more than one match, at least, Harlem Heat should get at least one of those victories. That'd be really cool. It's just too bad that Sister Sherry's no longer with us, because that would have been a great addition to ringside as a manager. Rest in peace, Sherry. But, speaking of women wrestlers, congratulations, I guess, go off to Tessa Blanchard for becoming the first female heavyweight champion of the world in Impact Wrestling. There was a lot of rumors going around speculating this week, that, she spewed certain things and some, negative remarks toward her fellow workers. And, hopefully it's not as bad as what it sounds. And either way, congrats to Tessa Blanchard, and hopefully she'll be able to move forward from those remarks and the controversy, and she'll have a decent, run as champion. Not to be disrespectful, I'm just not a fan of intergender matches. Either way, if a woman wins, then the guy she's wrestling makes him look weak. And if the guy wins, he looks like a bully. So, no disrespect to women's wrestlers or even, male wrestlers. I just feel that men should wrestle men and women should wrestle women. I don't think it's also cool for, children to see and get the wrong idea who aren't, hooked into the now, so to speak, knowing, what's a work versus what's a shoot. And, they don't realize that this is entertainment and this is for the fans for their pure enjoyment. And as children seeing this, I don't think it's cool. But either way, congratulations. Either way, she's a great wrestler. Even going back to China when she wrestled Jericho for the IC title, China was believable. She was big, she was muscular. But either way, I wasn't happy with her being, a champion in a male's division. Again, no disrespect to the women. I just think women should be with women and men should be with men, and that's the way it is, and call it a day. But, either way, congratulations to her. Moving on to NXT now. Big congrats to Big Keith Lee for coming up victorious in his Fatal 4-Way match. Not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, he is now the number 1 contender to Roderick Strong's NXT North American Championship. So that's going to be one hell of a match. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Keith Lee has been on a hot streak ever since NXT did their program with the Survivor Series. Him standing in the ring with Roman Reigns, that was something, to behold. As a fan for so many years, I knew that Roman Reigns was going to come out victorious. But either way, he gave Keith Lee the rub, and I see Keith Lee doing big things in the near future. And, best of luck to you, Keith Lee, in getting that North American Championship off of Roderick Strong's waist. It's going to be rough, with the Undisputed Era not too far behind in tow. So hopefully it'll be your night in a couple of weeks from now, and, you'll be the next North American champion. So with that being said, best of luck. So Royal Rumble's coming around. Hopefully there's going to be a lot of surprises. I'm being told, through my gremlins that you're going to have most likely for the men's and the women's respective Royal Rumbles, you're going to have 10 NXT, 10 SmackDown, and 10 Raw male and respective female wrestlers in their individual 30-man and woman, battle Royal Rumble match. So, with that being said, a lot of cool scenarios are in play right now. Becky Lynch is wrestling Asuka at the Royal Rumble. And Asuka, out of all the people that Becky Lynch has wrestled, that's been the hump she can't get over. So it should be interesting to see if she can retain her championship this coming Sunday. Big welcome back, by the way, to Sheamus. He's looking great. So hopefully we'll see him in the Rumble doing some cool things. And, I think all around it's just going to be a great pay-per-view. It's one of my personal favorites next to WrestleMania. I'm always hyped for the surprises. I'm always hyped to see who's going to make a return, who's going to make a comeback. I'll tell you, like I said earlier, may not be the biggest Punk fan, but, the fan in me either way would think it'd be really cool if he came back and, got to have maybe that WrestleMania moment. earlier when he first returned to FS1. I really thought they were going to build up a program with him and Seth Rollins. I mean, it looked like it was going there, and then it kind of like, fell on deaf ears. And then I guess storylines changed, things changed, and you go with the times. And Seth Rollins is now hanging with the AOP. It's like the Shield version 2.0, but whatever, that's just my opinion. And, hopefully, we'll have some more factions in the near future. I'm a huge fan of the old school wrestling managers. I wrestled myself. I was a manager. I've done everything. And I feel it's a lost art today, and it's a shame that there aren't more Paul Heymans in the world, because you need certain guys or the women for managers, either or, for guys or ladies who aren't good on the stick. And if you have people doing this for them, it'd be nothing but, it'd be great results, and it'd be a win-win. So I see certain wrestlers that I feel are lacking, a little lackluster behind the mic. So if they had that manager at ringside, they had somebody to hype them up, it would make them look that much better. I mean, look at Brock Lesnar. He's huge. He's got a great look. And from what I understand outside of wrestling, he's a hell of a great guy, and he's got a hell of a personality. But when it comes to wrestling, they don't waste the time with him cutting the promos. They leave the stick to Paul Heyman. He does the hyping. Lesnar does the posing. He does the flexing. And it's said and done. Sometimes lesser said is better off for the future. Lesser is more. And I think that's a great program. It's a great formula. And other wrestlers should adhere to that and, have a mouthpiece, because they would really benefit from it. So with the Royal Rumble coming around, it's going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to it. What else can we really discuss here? I mean, also, let's get to AEW. I heard that Brian Cage signed a 1-year multi-deal with them. Congrats to Brian Cage. Guy's a physical specimen. I personally couldn't believe that they actually had him job out to Tessa Blanchard. Again, no offense to women out there. It's just that, she's just an average-sized, female wrestler with potential and great talent, not to take anything away, but to take someone like that in real life against a big guy like Brian Cage, it's just not believable. It's entertainment at the end of the day, and obviously we all know it's not real, but keep it as real as possible. Don't make things so unbelievable. Yes, you've had guys like Rey Mysterio go against the Great Khali. It's night and day, but it's still a guy versus a guy. At the end of the day, it should be men versus men and women versus women. It's not a disrespectful thing. It's not an insult. I just feel some things should be better off left undone and keep things as believable and that makes sense as possible. But either way, best of luck, Brian Cage. I also read on the internet today, supposedly, that his wife was stating that he hasn't signed and it's news to her. Who knows? It could be at work. You never know. But I think that Brian Cage is going to AEW, and after what happened at Impact to him, I think the best bet for him is to have a clean slate and go to AEW. And speaking of AEW, who last week saw the Inner Circle with Chris Jericho welcoming Jon Moxley with open arms to the Inner Circle? You had Moxley come down ringside. He had that leather jacket zippered up. And at first, the way he was walking, he looked all bulky. So I thought he had a title around his waist from when he was in Japan. But lo and behold, when he unzipped the jacket, he was wearing the Inner Circle shirt. Now, I, for one, I knew for a fact that it wasn't going to happen. I called that whole segment WCW 20-plus years later version 2. And what I mean by that is very simple. If you guys remember the WCW days when the NWO was running wild, the original black and white, they were trying to get DDP to join the NWO. And if you guys recall, DDP came through the crowd, just like Moxley. He had his jacket covered up, just like Moxley, and he had an NWO shirt on underneath. So when he unzipped the shirt, he went like this, and they were like, yeah, he's joining the NWO, this is great. And then once they all turned their backs, Hogan, Hall, and Nash, he was hitting diamond cutters, that is DDP, was hitting diamond cutters everywhere and laid them out. Sound familiar? Jon Moxley did the same thing in the ring with Chris Jericho, and, with Sammy Guevara. And then by the time Jake Hager had a chance to grab Jon Moxley, he was out of the ring and he tore ass out of there. So, it just reminded me so much of the NWO angle. And I like how they stretched it out because the crowd was actually buying into it that Moxley was joining the Inner Circle because he had his arm around Jericho, speaking on his behalf, saying, "Oh, don't boo this man. This guy is a legend. He's a mentor. He's this, he's that to me. He's everything." And he spoke so highly of Chris Jericho, that is Jon Moxley. And he made sure he got the keys to that supposed $750,000 car, which, by the way, is not only not $750,000, it is $450,000 for starters, and it's Tony Khan's daddy's car that they borrowed. So either way, Jon Moxley, I hate to break the news to you, that plate Moxley on the back of that ride is bogus, and not to mention the car is already owned by your boss's daddy. So with that being said, Moxley, you're what out of luck. And either way, it was really cool the way you ended the segment. I like how you screwed them over. It was really funny. That crack of the bubbly on Jericho's head was like the stamp of approval saying that, hey, I'm not joining the Inner Circle. You're beat, you're busted, you can't be trusted. But anyway, this week's AEW should be really cool. I'm starting to become a really big fan of Darby Allin. He may not be the biggest dog in the fight, but he's got a lot of heart. And from what I understand, he's come from some, humble beginnings. And, hats off to the guy. I think he's really good. I think he's got a great potential. I mean, guys like him and Cassidy, like the shit they can do, man. I mean, they go over the top rope. One guy's got his hands in his pockets. The other one can have his arms handcuffed behind his back and wrestle. I mean, these guys have such wild talent. I mean, AEW is in its early stages, and there's already people, critiquing them too much, that they're this, they're that, they don't have enough pros, they don't have this, and you know what? Some of it is true, but give the company a chance. They're just getting started. And, with the vision of the legends, now that you have Arn Anderson there from the Four Horsemen, and you got other legends there working behind the scenes like Dean Malenko, I see nothing but progress and nothing but future success for AEW as long as they don't fall into bad habits and old formulas that didn't work out properly back in the WCW days. So, best of luck to AEW for continued success. Me personally, I love the alternative to WWE. I've been a WWE fan for well over 40 years. I'm a New Yorker. That's what I grew up on. But as you get older, you expand your horizons, you expand your interests. I watch WWE still, obviously, is my main, company. I'm loving AEW for the most part, and I'm starting to DVR Impact Wrestling now, which I'm kind of really digging. And NWA Power, by the way, man, that's really cool. I'm a big fan of Nick Aldis. I think he's great. The guy exudes champion. I mean, when he holds that 10 pounds of gold with the accent and the way he dresses, all sharp, I think it's really cool. And speaking of sharp dressers, I heard that The Rock's going to have a new TV show, I think, on NBC coming out soon called, I believe, Baby Rock. I guess it's like his humble beginnings from when he was a child. And I guess they take you back. It's kind of like a young Sheldon kind of TV show, only in this case, it's, young Rock. So, let's look for that in the future. Hopefully that'll work out. And a little segue, speaking of The Rock, he had that show on last season. I forgot the name of the show. It was, where the men and women compete and they do all those crazy obstacles and all that crazy type of working out, whatever it was. And the lady who won the game, she is now training at with Kane, I think, and Dr. Tom Pritchard down in, I believe, Tennessee. And then eventually she'll be reporting to the Performance Center. Forgive me for not knowing her name. I just read some bits and pieces along the way. And, that's basically it for now. If you guys are a fan of impressions, I want you to also, when you go to my Twitter page at Toddy D Wrestling, I do open mic stand-up comedy on the side. I do impressions, and I follow a lot of people. And, over the weekend I was watching YouTube, and I forgot how great Dan Soder is with his Macho Man impression. The guy does it spot on. He's awesome. He even does Andre the Giant. And when I heard the Andre impression over the weekend on YouTube, it's it's an old tape, an old clip. Guy's hilarious. So Dan Soder, if you're out there listening, man, I think you're awesome. I think you're great. Try to give me a like on YouTube. Try to hit me up on Twitter. Follow me, you and everyone else. And whoever watches this, whoever follows Toddy D, I will follow you back. We got to look out for each other in the wrestling community, folks. One hand washes the other, and, we both scrub the backs. But, all joking aside, Look me up on Twitter at Toddy D Wrestling. I'm on YouTube. You type in Toddy D, it's Toddy space letter D. I have up some cool videos. I have some joking lip syncs that I did in the past. I have all my podcasts on there. And now that we're in 2020, I have some news, folks. I am going to be starting one-on-one interviews in the near future that I will be putting up on my Twitter page as well as my YouTube for audio only or audio with video. I can't disclose who I'll be interviewing one-on-one yet because for the most part, the majority of them are done deals. But once we hook up a date and a time and a place, until future reference, that's when I will make the announcement, and that's when everyone else will know who it will be and when it will be posted. So, that's basically all I have for now with that. And, I'm going to start wrapping up here. So tonight is, Monday, January 13th. Monday Night Raw will be starting in less than an hour. And hopefully it should be a really good show. Hopefully it'll start building to Royal Rumble. And we'll be moving in the right direction to a better year of wrestling. And, that's all I have for now, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed my podcast. I'm Brooklyn's own Toddy D. And I will see each and every one of you guys at ringside. Be well.